I had a really hard time saying this wasn't for me because it felt like a failure.
Yeah.
And it kind of still does.
Trust that gut. If you feel like she was not going to take it seriously, I promise you she won't.
Are you going to partner with me on this? Or are you going to be one of those people that's like, in my day, we didn't have nut allergies?
Exactly.
Hi.
Hello,
And welcome to EpiPod. Sarah is a mom to 2 little boys with food allergies.
And Danielle has navigated life-threatening allergies her entire life.
Living with an invisible health condition is so isolating.
The fear and the anxiety.
Trying to cover it up so you don't affect anybody else.
Especially your kids. Sound familiar?
Join us on the couch and take a load off with people who just get it.
We're so glad you're here.
Welcome back to EpiPod. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, how's it going?
I was going to say, how are you?
I feel like it's been a little while since we sat down, and I know for people listening, it's like it's only been a week. Hello, because we spaced some weeks, just a week apart. But sometimes we go a little bit of a gap between recording.
Yeah, sometimes we go rogue and we see each other like a million times a week, and then other times I'm like, "Hi, my name's Danielle. It's nice to meet you, Sarah." And it's just like travel, kid sickness, school's out, like all these weird things in our schedule. But I love seeing you in person.
I know.
So
I love it too. Yes. Even though, we talk all the time, no matter if we're in person or not. But still, yeah. So speaking of haven't seen each other in a while, something else that you haven't done in a while, my transition there.
I've been keeping a little secret.
Yes. Is your dosing, like your OIT dosing. You have been paused since when?
Since mid-August.
And before you get into it, this is going to be kind of today's topic. We're going to touch on and kind of get updates from Danielle about why she hasn't been dosing and kind of her path forward, but also talking about just in general, OIT I think is often presented as this magical solution or not cure for allergies, but a
gateway into a new way of living.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always work. Number one, for some people, it just physically does not work. And then it also sometimes doesn't work in people's lives. And
present.
And I just think it's important to do an episode like this for all those people who either have been through it and it didn't work out, or are considering it and feeling pressured to do it when maybe it's not best for them based on what they know about themselves. I think this episode is going to be really important to show that other side. So that's just kind of like a preface to this conversation, this episode today. So again, take us back, Danielle, to kind of the beginning of that first pause you had when you thought it was really, truly gonna be a brief pause.
I really feel like I'm on the other end of news reporter Sarah, and I love it. I love it. Go full investigative reporter on me.
Let's go.
Okay, what should I call you? Hoda?
Yeah, I love Hoda. And
who's
she's
your favorite?
Retiring.
I know.
Yes, it used to be Katie Couric a long time ago when she was really serious, and I was like, I'm gonna be a serious journalist.
And she had her glasses, and she'd be the papers.
But then Hoda came along, and she worked in New Orleans for a little while, which is where I grew up. And before she got she was on the local news in New Orleans. And so I think between that and just Hoda being Hoda, and I've read all her books, and I just love her so much that she's one of my favorites for sure.
I'm obsessed. If you guys didn't know, Sarah never leads with this, but Sarah's an Emmy award-winning news reporter in her 1.0 career.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there was a time and a place for that Sarah.
Yes.
And I mean, I truly did love that career, and it was everything I always wanted. And I shifted for, many reasons, allergies being one of them. And so, I feel like I checked all the boxes I wanted to check. And then now I'm good with it being in my past.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's fun. When we're interviewing people, I see it glimmer out, and I'm like, how cool. It's fun to meet. You've become such a good friend to me. Yeah. It's so fun to meet 1.0 Sarah in some ways,
Who knows what 0.0 I'm on now? There's been so many evolutions.
4.0, 5.0.
I know.
Okay. So when I thought it was going to be a brief pause, I was moving apartments, and it went from thinking I was moving 1 week to I was setting up my dose. Actually, I was about to eat. I was making food to eat pre my dose. And I got a phone call I had like set everything out from my new landlord saying that the foundation was shifting and it may not be physically sound enough for me to move into this place. And I'm like, what do you mean? I have movers coming at 8 a.m. It is noon. Like, hello? And I'd been packing. It felt like I'd been packing for months, but it was really just like 2 or 3 weeks. And it was because of dosing. Like, I could not get super physical and super hot to move, to take things in the middle of Texas hardcore summer to donations. Like, it was just a very physical thing to move all by yourself. And so I was having to make my pack up process twice as long, because I would like spend the morning dosing and working, but mostly dosing. And then the afternoons and evenings, I was like always packing up to like midnight, 1 in, because I was like, okay, you got to squeeze the juice out of the rag because you have to dose in the morning.
Right.
And like, I've been super transparent. I had been really struggling with dosing, my schedule, etc. But that was like when I first took the pause.
Yeah.
And so I basically didn't dose that day because I was like, shoot, I have to find someplace else to live, like now. And so I hopped back on Zillow. I like immediately started touring new places, like scrambling. Luckily, my apartment building let me extend till the end of the week. They're like, we can give you a couple more days in this place. And I'm like, like I'm too high maintenance to be without a home.
Yeah.
I mean, worst case scenario, I would have put things in storage and like gotten an Airbnb or gone home to my parents for a few weeks. But it was just like so insanely stressful. And you cannot be in like truly fight or flight, it felt like, mode, and also expect your system to be able to safely dose. Right. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to have to take off and like put full energy into finding a new place to live last minute. And it was so disappointing because I had started looking in May because I was like, let's find the right fit for you. Yeah. So I was just like, what was that all for? Like, I gave up my summer. Everybody's all frolicking in Barcelona. And I am like touring dump after dump in Austin that's priced at like Manhattan price. It was ridiculous. So I was just like, well, for what? So it was really frustrating. It was really stressful. I find a new place, which now I refer to as the Rat Palace, because I moved in and it has a rat infestation. It's fine. It's not fine.
But I mean, just stressor after stressor.
Yeah.
Basically.
So like,
and you traveled a couple times.
Oh yeah. So then like I find this new place, I move in, and I'm immediately going home to El Paso and then going to Los Angeles for, I think it was like a week, like five days, something like that. And so I reached out to my doctor and I was like, okay, what's the ramp back up? Because I've taken a week off, like give me the slow progression back up. But just so you know, I'm going to be in LA and I don't want to dose there. Like I've learned, that's one thing that I learned is I used to try and make myself dose while I was on trips.
Yeah.
And usually they're so short that it was like, why are you using your 1 or 2 full days in a place without travel for dosing when you can it's a marathon, not a race. Like, let's just do the slow ramp back up after the trip rather than put this huge wrench in a trip and maybe or maybe not able to do the plans that I've paid so much money to do.
Right.
Because that happened before. So I was like, hey, but then I'm going to be traveling. And he was like, forget it. Like, just when you get back, you've taken 2 weeks off before when you had COVID, like it'll be a really slow ramp back up, but like, just let me know when you're back. So I get back and I find literal feces in my kitchen. I thought it was mice. It was roach. And there was actually a rat problem in the attic, but there's never been, allegedly, I don't know if I trust this apartment complex. And by if I don't, I don't. And I hate them and I'm looking for a lawyer. It's fine.
My goodness.
But like, I immediately went into just fight or flight all over again.
Yeah.
Of like, I mean, I would be standing at the kitchen sink cooking and like feel something on my foot. And it was in Texas, the roaches are literally like,
they can be like
the size of my dog.
Yeah.
It was huge. Yeah. It was like giving Indiana Jones. And so like I would scream bloody murder and the neighbor on the other side would be like, are you okay? And I'm like, yep, just another roach. Or like I was having I still am having a really hard time sleeping because I go to sleep to the sound of
little pitter patter mice in your roof.
Yes. And like, it's giving Jumanji, but in my head, I'm just trying to like reprogram and have a shift of like, you're Cinderella. Everybody has always told you that you are a Disney princess IRL. Well, Disney princesses have little mice friends.
That's right.
And they're going to make you a gown. And it's like, actually, no, they carry diseases. And Yeah. So luckily, so I've been in this place for 6 weeks and I have a Westie. You guys have met him on the pod. He's a terrier and he is very rodent oriented. Like that definitely got passed down in the genes.
Yeah.
And so my rule is like, unless he is alerting to something, I have to just relax. I'm still not sleeping great.
Yeah.
I'm still just like trying to figure out what next steps are. Like, am I putting things in storage? Am I going home for the holidays early? Am I moving out? Am I going to stick it out for more remediation? Like,
Yeah.
it's just, there's poison everywhere.
Yeah.
They're tracking feces through the house. Like, oh my God, they opened the attic and poop came showering down on me.
God.
It was just, it's been a lot. So anyways, it was like a series of unfortunate events where I was just like, my immune system is not in the place to be able to be set up for any kind of success.
Right.
I cannot handle this with stress. I cannot handle it physically. And I guess the silver lining of it all is I had been really struggling, like, is this for me or not, for months, basically since January when the panic attacks started.
Yeah.
And my onboarding day for OIT, Dr. Silvers, who is an absolute angel of all doctors, he's amazing. He was like, OIT is designed to make your world bigger, not smaller. So if this makes your world smaller, you have to stop. And that was always in the back of my head. But as a perfectionist and as somebody who's like, I've always been a high achiever. I don't get good grades. I don't get straight A's. I am the valedictorian. I don't become a member of after school clubs. I am the president of the student body and like all of the honor clubs that I possibly can be. Like, I have never my whole life done anything small. And as a student, that was like very rewarded. And it got me into an amazing college and it made my resume look so great. As a little 18-year-old, I was like, I am Elle Woods meets Einstein. But as an adult, it can get really, really toxic. And especially when it's something like this, where like the stakes are so high and it really is affecting your mental health and your ability to just live your life. I had a really hard time saying this wasn't for me because it felt like a failure.
Yeah.
And it kind of still does. But I mean, I'm so thankful for my therapist, like really talking through that, like everything that I've had to redefine. Like, what is success for me with OIT? And that's it. I tried it. Like, for a year and a half, but especially for 2023, like it became my whole personality. Like, I pushed myself harder than I ever have. Having daily panic attacks, like having you fly across the city to come help me and sit with me when I couldn't get control over it and I had hives going up my leg. Like, it's really been a stressor for my family and just my parents feeling like they're far away and they can't be there for me. I truly saw my whole personality change. Like, I used to always be the first one to say yes to my friend group. Like, even a brand new friend, immediately like, oh, you want to go to this weird party that may be like terrible? Danielle will say yes. Like, she's always down for a side quest. I was still invited. Like, they still would invite me, so I didn't feel excluded. But like, it became known that if it's before 1 p.m., like, she will say no. And if it's like highly physical or like has a lot of heat or whatever, she's probably going to like say no or like come by really quick and then leave. And I just noticed, like, I knew that my world had gotten a lot smaller, but it's not something that you can just like stop because I worked so hard to get to one peanut. Like, it was so exciting. And I never actually like crunched down on the peanut, which is good or bad. I'm not sure. But like, yeah, it's hard to achieve what I had been wanting to achieve, which was being cross-contamination safe.
Yeah.
And also decide, like, this is killing me from the inside out. And like I had been saying the whole time, I was always like, I'm choosing to do OIT for today. That's kind of how I'm looking at it right now. Like, I know that I don't want to dose today. There is not a single cell that wants to dose. and maybe that's going to be forever. It probably will be, but like, whether it's like through therapy or if I try medication, like talking with Alyssa when she came on for a mental health episode, that was really inspiring to me and something I'm still curious about. Maybe I do try to get my anxiety treatment shifts enough, whether through medication or therapy or whatever, that I want to try again.
Yeah.
And maybe I will, but like for right now, for my level of anxiety, for my age, and for how high my numbers were, I think it also was like, I knew just how it like drained me down. It like brought me down to like my bare bones.
Yeah.
And that was just peanut. And now I have 4 anaphylactic tree nuts to do next. I barely was keeping my head above water with the peanuts. I just don't know if I had it in me to do the tree nuts.
Right.
And maybe I could have, because I certainly went way further than I ever thought possible with peanuts. But I was just like, even though I was dealing with rats above my head, poison in the backyard, roaches crawling on my feet, a terrible apartment management company, clients, and like on the work side, like going crazy, all this travel, like there was so much drama that I could have been like, this is a bad day. Like, this is a terrible day. But I still would wake up and be like, it's summer vacation. Today is summer vacation. Today is Christmas morning.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to dose. And actually, we were recording a podcast. It was like, I guess it was back in August, but we were recording and you're like, oh, what's on the dock for the rest of your day? And I was like, well, I think it's just allergies, but I'm like literally going to sit down and pray to God that I wake up tomorrow with a fever. And you were like, what?
Yeah.
And I was like, I hope that I'm sick. Like, I hope I get COVID or something. I hope I have a fever tomorrow. And you were like, okay, again, what? Yeah. And I was like, because I'm going back into the doctor on Friday and tomorrow's Thursday. And if I have a fever tomorrow, then I have to cancel. I get to cancel my appointment for Friday.
Meaning you wouldn't updose.
Correct. Or I wouldn't he wanted me to go into the office to build back up because it'd been so long. Yeah. I was nervous to do it at home. Like we both just felt more comfortable with me being in the office.
Right.
And no part of me wanted to do it. Not even 0.001%. I was praying for COVID. I was praying for a fever.
And I mean, if there's any crystal, sign like this, like if there's any clearer sign.
Yeah. Well, I did. I woke up sick the next morning. Like I was sick, not just like a little sick. I was sick. And I literally was like, most people like pull out their heating pad and find their Advil. I was running around the top of my apartment with the rats above me going like fist pumping because I got to cancel my appointment.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
You have to listen to that.
Correct. I also, oh my gosh, I'm going to cry again. We've talked about it before. Like one of my screensavers on my phone is like a photo of myself when I was really little. And I just got to the point where I was like, you can't keep doing that to her. Like, you really can't keep doing that to her. Like, I want to go back to her. Like, I want to go back to the person who loved working out in the morning and who was the yes person for their friends and was always down for an adventure. And like, yes, when I was on that bachelorette party, I noticed like, wow, you're really having to say no to things that you were still saying no to in the program, but you knew like maybe soon I can say yes to this. It was like these small little like family owned diners in Breckenridge. And they were like small kitchen. There's probably going to be some sort of cross contamination with pecans, but it's up to you. Like we can clean a pan. And I was like, that's okay. I don't want to have an issue in the middle of nowhere. And it's like take the attention off the bread. So it's hard. It's like everything with allergies, it's gray. But I think the net it washes out to, I want to go back to that life versus the OIT life. And another thing that was really clarifying for me, and this is the last thing, I started following this girl. Her handle is All You Can't Eat, and she lives in LA, and she and her husband are curious about Charleston as well, which is like my dream city. And she does this recap on her Instagram story every day where she's like, times I thought about my allergy today, and she counts them. And I really relate to her because she lives in LA. I used to live in LA. She has this travel PR job. I love to travel. I love PR, receiving it. But whatever, I see myself in her, and she says like how many times I thought about it today. And when she's traveling, it's like 8, 15, 5. When she's at home, especially after she's done traveling, she's like 0. It was a great day. I had to think about it 0 times. I had a lot of work to catch up on. I ate at home. I made all 3 of my meals. And I was like, that's why I don't want to eat out. Like, that's why I don't want to travel. That's why I feel like I can't ever even dream of going to Europe again, because I'm doing constant gymnastics in my head. Days that I would dose, my count ticker is already starting when I go to bed. Like, am I getting enough sleep? Okay, did I wake up early enough? Okay, I can't walk the dog for very long because it's hot outside and I can't let my body get too hot. Okay, I did let my body get too hot, and oh my gosh, I'm not hungry and I need to eat more so I can do this. Oh my gosh, I'm having a panic attack. Oh my gosh, it was just like, I think it's valid to say I was thinking about it in the hundreds, if not more. Like,
and it's one thing to think about that sometimes when you're traveling, like if that's the number, right? Like if you're like, oh, when I travel, I have to worry about allergies X amount of times. Right. But if that's only sometimes, that's manageable in your life. If it's every day that you're thinking about it that many times, that greatly impacts your quality of life.
Totally. And like, again, I know an adult who did this and does not have those thoughts.
Right.
They feel so free. They went on vacation, don't even say the nut allergy at the table. Like, crazy how it's transformed his life.
Yeah.
I am not that person.
Right.
Like, I have severe anxiety.
Yeah.
And I've always, I think, been a lot more cautious than he ever was with his allergy.
Yeah.
So it's just such a good example that like it can be transformative for others in a positive way. And in my case, it was transformative for me in a really negative way. And I, being the hard-headed person that I am, I didn't stop at the minor reactions. Because I knew there would be them. Yeah. I didn't stop when I started having daily panic attacks for months. I didn't stop when it ruined vacations and I had to spend the vacation that I spent $1 gazillion on in the hotel because I'd had a little reaction. I didn't stop. Like, there were these signs all along, but I was like, no, like there will be signs and you will push through. And it's just really nuanced to go from like, there will be signs and you will push through and it was successful, or there will be signs and you will push through and it's going to ruin your life.
Yeah.
So it's really nuanced. It's really complicated. There's a lot of pros and cons. The only reason I feel comfortable talking about it right now is because yesterday I told Dr. Silvers.
You told him you're done.
Yeah. And like, it was like something I could ignore until I told him.
Now it's real.
Yeah. And it's hard. Like, he was so supportive and so patient, and like I was like the most high maintenance OIT patient ever. Like everybody at Aspire like all pitched in to try and help me, and it just feels like it's really easy to talk negatively and be like, for what? And like I still need to process and journal, but I do know it wasn't for nothing. Like, I'm so grateful that I tried. I always thought of myself as a strong person, but this like a whole other level of strength that I didn't know. And like, I already see myself being like, because I have more room on my plate again.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do some of the things that like I've talked about in therapy, but I just didn't have the oomph in me. Mm-hmm. I spent the whole first half of the day worrying, like I just want to sit on the couch and have a glass of wine. Like I don't want to go outside and try and eat a meal at a new restaurant.
Yeah.
I don't have it in me. And like I'm eating out more than I have in a while. So I'm like already seeing some of the benefits.
That's great. Yeah. And I mean, you not only tried, but you did succeed. I mean, you got to a place where you were eating the, protein wise, the amount of a peanut.
Yeah.
I mean, that is huge.
Totally.
And I think, just showing yourself that you can push through hard times. But sometimes, I mean, it's not even that you hit too many roadblocks and now like you have to stop. It's that you've tried something, you've evaluated if it's the right thing for you or not, and you're brave enough to say, no, it's not. And I think that, is stronger than pushing through one more time.
Yeah. Thanks.
You know? I can totally see, that's not to minimize your feelings, because I think a lot of people would feel the exact same way in your shoes.
Yeah.
I think I would too. I would, I feel that way about other things too, where I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't do this. I'm not good enough. I'm not whatever enough. And it's like, that's a very human reaction and feeling. So I don't ever mean to don't ever think I'm minimizing it when I say those things. But thank you too for sharing, because it's really hard to share, in public in any way, but then to share your experience and probably, I know, help so many people who are either making this decision or have made a similar decision and are still feeling a certain way about it. Just feeling not alone is going to be really helpful.
Yeah. I also, the language around it is so toxic. Like, it's like, oh, you failed OIT. Because I did. That's what it's called. Like, that's what it says on my chart now. I failed OIT. And I'm just like, yeah, OIT
didn't work for you. I mean, it's their problem.
Totally. Yeah. It's OIT's problem.
Yeah.
No, I feel like this podcast, I mean, we get so many emails and DMs of people being like, this is life-changing. Yeah. Like, you have changed the landscape of our family, of some of our decisions. Like, I feel like I have a friend, and like, those are so amazing and great. And I'm glad it's helpful for other people.
Yeah.
But I also feel like, wow, this has selfishly been so great for me too, because I think something that also has been playing in the back of my head since we had her on was what Levi said. Mm-hmm. And she wasn't speaking about treatment, but it meant a lot to me. It was like a huge aha moment. And I wrote it down. I journal about it still all the time, where she was talking about not living a big life, like letting your allergies stop you from living. Like, you're giving up more than if you had taken the risk, the calculated risk, done everything you could to keep yourself safe and done it anyways. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. Like, I'm not living my life because I'm trying so badly to mitigate the risks that I have boiled my life down into a morning walk, a white knuckle period, a little bit less of a white knuckle period, sleep, do it again.
Yeah.
And for me, I was just like, I want to dream again. I want to go to Europe again. I want to work out at 6 a.m. again.
And again, some people do OIT because it gets them to a point and it catapults them to, hey, I can go to Europe now and I can be safe and I can feel free and I can feel less scared. Yeah. I mean, that is the point of OIT. Totally. But I think, as you said before, not only is it nuanced, but each person is so different, and how the kind of daily rigor of OIT affects you
totally
really will play a big role. So if you're listening to Danielle and you're like, well, that's not me at all. I think I'm going to be cool with whatever my doctor says, you know, and just wait the hour and then go about my life and not worry about anything. And then and you don't have any setbacks, or you don't have any, maybe you have a partner at home with you that you're not feeling as, you were doing this all by yourself, alone in your apartment. That is not easy for anyone to do. And so I think situationally, if something is different, or if you are listening and you're like, well, I just don't have that kind of anxiety, I am excited to do this. I think you should try it. We do OIT, and I mean, not OIT tip, but it's similar in a lot of ways, and it is very stressful and hard. I'm not saying it's not, but we have a different experience.
Yeah.
And again, it's a child. It's not me. There's so many differences. I'm just saying, I don't think this should deter anyone from doing OIT, but I do think it's a data point.
Oh my gosh. It's such a data point. And they always say kids do a lot better in OIT.
Yeah.
And I think physically they do, their bodies can handle the stress a lot better.
Oh, but mentally.
Oh my gosh. I shared a couple of weeks ago, Cracker Jacks. I remember sucking on a Cracker Jack, digging through the box to get to the popcorn. There were peanuts in there.
Yeah. And
I don't know if my allergy just got worse as I got older, or if I was just oh, my throat's really itchy and we just didn't know any better.
Yeah.
But if you had given me OIT when I was a kid, even up to late high school, I think I would have had quite the opposite experience.
Yeah.
But like,
well, and you also, again, would have had your parents there.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is so different.
But like I remember, like, even, gosh, it was like 2019, 2018, 2019. I found this bakery in Palm Springs when I would go out for Stagecoach, and my roommates and I loved this bakery. We would like drive like 45 minutes out of the way hungover to go to this one bakery, and they had great coffee and they had these giant muffins. And I remember this is the owner working it, and I was like, oh, I have a peanut and a tree nut allergy, and he was like, you should not get these pastries. Like, there's everything in the back there.
Yeah.
I'm the owner, and I'm saying like, you really shouldn't.
Yeah.
Not because of like, I'm trying to cover my ass.
Right.
I'm like, genuinely, we made banana nut muffins sometimes right after, right before, right after. Like, I just don't know. And I was like, I'm sure it's fine. Like, I'll know really quick. I'm sure it's fine. And then I went to stage, like, that's who I was in 2019.
Right.
So like, even in college, even after college, but I think going through a traumatic event.
Yep.
And yeah, like, you just, after 30 plus years of living a certain way, it's really hard to go back and rewire.
Yeah.
So yeah, for now, I'm going to extend summer vacation indefinitely.
Yeah. And you know what? Like you said, I was going to ask, well, what's next? And it's like, we don't have to know. Do you know what I mean? Like, for right now, you are paused. You might be indefinitely paused. You might, I know when our, Xolair doctor was on, you know, you were very curious about that treatment. I mean, who knows what treatment's going to come in 5 years?
Totally.
Like, this does not mean it's your end of ever trying to fight back against these freaking allergies. I almost said the real F word because I mean it whenever I talk about allergies. I hate them. But this is not your end. Like, there are so many other things that could be in the future. And for now, stopping OIT is what you need. It's what will work for you now.
Yeah. I, talking about it with my therapist, she's been great, as always, but she gives me like homework every week. And a lot of the times I couldn't fulfill the homework because I was so stressed from dosing. Like, I was like, I'm not going to eat out, or I'm not, whatever we talked about. When I was like, okay, like, I'm extending summer vacation indefinitely to her, she was like, okay, your homework is like, go enjoy summer. Like, go wake up and take a hot yoga class at whatever time you want. You want to sleep in till 11 because you don't have to dose? Yeah. Sleep until 11 because you don't have to dose. Like, enjoy doing whatever you want. You used to say, like, on a travel day that it was like a vacation. Enjoy every day being vacation again. Yeah. So I think that's been helpful for me to cut the noise of like, you failed. Like, that's how I'm cutting the noise.
Right. You're enjoying yourself now.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you again for sharing, because I know that was not easy, and this whole journey has not been easy for you, but I do think it's going to help a lot of people, and hopefully helped a little bit yourself too, just to like cathartically share sometimes is what we all need.
Totally. And I think like I went out on my own terms. Mm-hmm. And I think that's like something that I can also really hang on to. I didn't go out when I was like having panic attacks every day. I didn't go out when I had a mild reaction. I didn't go out when office visits were like kind of haunting me. Like, I didn't let any of like the big scaries take me out. I got to be like, it's going fine. Like, it's going great physically, but like I'm signing off.
Right. Sayonara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for being my friend. Yeah. This is like total, like, you're my food allergy mom. No. So thanks for letting me like fully
can't reach.
Have a come apart.
Yeah, we're trying to hug each other. If you're listening, we're trying to touch. Oh, I love you, and I'm sorry that this has been such a struggle, but I'm really, really freaking proud of you.
Thank you
for everything. Yeah.
I'm going to collect myself in the bathroom.
Yes. Okay. And then let's jump into question and answers. Yes.
This segment is brought to you by Pulse Power, a high-protein, all-natural chickpea-based snack line that is co-founded by an allergy mom. And Danielle, we love these snacks in our house.
They have delicious snack sticks and chickpea spreads that are made in a dedicated top 14 allergen-free facility. A great choice for school lunches and snack boxes.
Okay, Sarah, this one is for you and your epic date nights. How do you plan out all of the dosing and such around times for leaving the house for date night?
Oh, yeah. Well, so it depends obviously on when we're going out. Like if we're going out later, then usually we just do it like first thing when he gets home from school. So like if we're home by 4 and we're not going out till 7, like we just like give him a snack right when he gets home that's like hearty enough for, having a full enough belly for dosing. And we do it all then, and then there's the hour rest period, and then we aren't leaving till after that. So I feel okay at this point, like after that hour, that he's going to be fine. Obviously we're never going super far, and if we were, we would probably take extra precautions or make sure somebody's there who like really, really gets it, or like a family member, or maybe we would have like a neighbor on standby. Like I would take some of those extra precautions, or we would just skip. I mean, honestly, skipping one night, at least in our program, like you can skip up to 2 days. I mean, they don't want you to, don't do it just to do it. But like if you're going on one date night a month, build in the buffer days into your program. Like if it's something like tip and you're flying out, you have to kind of build that in, but like add an extra day to whatever you were gonna do. And like, that's not that serious, right? Like just skip it. So for your peace of mind. Or if you feel like there's a big enough window, try to get it in and like stay close-ish. Make sure the sitter is someone you trust and understands, the signs and symptoms and all of that. I would say when we go out early, so sometimes we like lately, now that the boys are a little older, we're like, oh, well, we can go out happy hour time and then get back like right when they're going to bed. So then like we went out, we had our date, and then like we get back and we still have some time before it's like late, and we have to go to bed. So it's like an extra extended date.
Oh, cute.
Versus like getting home at midnight and you're like, oh, I have to wake up at 6 o'clock for school. So, it's rough. But for those days, I think we would either skip dosing, or we would have our old nanny, who is really, really, she used to do dosing for us anyway. I mean, we'd be home during those days because I was working from home, but she would handle dosing. Like she was that kind of day to day in our lives and understanding of it all. So I think the only way I would go out during that time, like the time when he needs to dose, like not be there, is if like that particular person was there. Or like I said, we have just skipped and said like, not worth it. I would say for activities, like we have soccer one day a week, we have soccer that's like late. And part of me is always a little worried, like if we do it early and then he goes out and he runs around, even if it's past that hour window. But I push myself in those moments to say like, no, my doctor says after that hour, it's fine.
Yeah.
And, we talked about this obviously earlier in the episode. You didn't want to do that. Like that was really hard for you to do. Like you always extended your window past just like your own mental window, and like, I think that's totally normal. But like, even though I feel that way, I try my damnedest to just be like, I'm not going to let myself go there. My doctor said it's fine. It's fine.
I also feel like you have to go off of history.
Yeah.
Like you have never had any problems. You've tried your damnedest really hard, and it was like probably really hard at first.
Yeah.
And then it got easier because you didn't see anything.
Right. He's never had like super delayed responses.
Like I feel like every time I would like muster up the courage to like do something, I'd feel so proud of myself, and like there would be something,
right? Yeah. Like not a major reaction, but you'd feel like a little itchy or a little hive,
like
or
a
something.
huge hive under my boob once.
Right.
Like
you're like, okay, well,
I was like the one time I was brave, and look what happened.
Right. So if that's your history, of course you're not going to want to do that, or you're going to set different barriers or whatnot. Yeah. And then like another time, so in those times we still do it, but it's, it works for us. And then when we have an activity that's like earlier in the afternoon after school, we'll just like wait and dose later. I mean, they say, you know, try to keep it to about the same time, but I mean, within like a 2 or 3 hour window, they say it's fine. So some days we'll dose at 4 p.m. and some days we'll dose at 6 p.m. and it's like not that huge of a deal. So I don't know. I think I answered the question.
You did.
Okay.
If I were them, I would say you answered the question.
Check. Question 2.
Hi, I am touring elementary schools these upcoming weeks. What can I ask and look for regarding allergy kids? The one that I toured today told me to just tell the teacher, and I'm like, yeah, it's a little bit more serious than that.
Yes. So I actually thank you to this person who wrote in. I actually answered this person back in DMs already, but I was like, I think this is a good one to do on the podcast because I think a lot of people have sent us a very similar question. And what I told her was, and it's like so not that good of advice, but the first thing I said was like, in every single thing I've done as a parent, like when I've not trusted my gut instinct, it hasn't gone well. And when I have, we've been fine. And so I think the fact that you even wrote the question of like, I was a little, like I said this and this lady said, oh, just tell the teacher. And I felt weird about that. Like, trust that gut. If that feels weird, if you feel like she was not going to take it seriously, I promise you she won't. I promise you she's uneducated about allergies. It's just not worth it to stress yourself out every day or to try to make someone understand something that they're just not willing to even try to understand. And I mean, yeah, maybe she is, but ultimately she didn't have like the empathy bone in that first moment. And to me, that's a big red flag. So again, not sure that that's like, you know, follow your gut. That's not like the greatest tactical advice, but I definitely would start there. And then I also said to her in terms of like, what questions do you ask? I do start with open-ended questions. Like, what are your allergy policies here? And depending on how they answer that, like when we were looking for daycares and such, was huge to me. Yeah. If you're like, well, what do you mean? I mean, we have kids with allergies. Like if that's the response, that's, I mean, it's not like I'm writing you off right then there, but like, that's not the response I'm looking for. I want to know like, oh yeah, we had a couple kids last year. This is what we did. You know, this parent wanted this. We can accommodate this way. Like, give me some real juicy, meaty things that you do here to make sure that kids with allergies are safe. Like, here's how we wipe down the tables. We give all the kids the wipes. We make sure everybody washes their hands. We don't allow peanuts in here, whatever it may be. But like, give me something. Tell me something about what you do and how you know about allergies. Yeah. So I usually start vague and just see what they give me. Of course, you need to be talking to the right person, right? If you're talking to some like random person at the front desk, maybe they don't know and that's okay, you know? And then I ask specifically questions about like the schedule, about eating arrangements. So like, do we all eat in the class or is it we eat in a lunchroom? Does everybody have an assigned seat or is it free seating? Are there any kind of food bans in terms of, peanut free, nut free, whatever it might be? How have you handled food allergy kiddos in the past? What are your policies or what are you willing to do in terms of hand washing or wiping hands? What is their schedule? Meaning like, are they going from here to the cafeteria, from here to music? Are they coming right back in the room? Like, just so you're aware of like who's getting them next after the lunch hour. Are there people there to monitor lunch tables? Like all of these questions are things that I ask, like both when he was entering kindergarten and going into daycare settings. So
is it ever a situation, like I'm thinking back to my elementary middle school, I was obsessed with it. Like there's no place else that I would ever, it would have been like oh my gosh, it was the best experience ever. There was no, I mean, it was also the totally different world then, but like, is there ever a world in which you ask them an open-ended question and they don't have, like they give you an unsatisfactory or like a wishy-washy answer and you're like, okay, but like they're willing to learn essentially?
Yeah, I think I do. I think just again, the gut of like, did they respond passively like this teacher did, you know, to this question, this person who wrote in's question? Or were they genuinely like, well, what do you mean? Or, oh, this is what we've done in the past. Is there something you need? Is there something that we can do differently to help you? Like, how they answer is not just a like, do they have it all A plus 100? Did they get get an A on the test? It's not necessarily a test in that way. It's more of like I'm a vibe check. That I'm getting from you. So I do think there are people that you can work with.
Are you going to partner with me on this? Or are you going to be one of those people that's like, in my day, we didn't have nut allergies.
Exactly.
You can't be anaphylactic to dairy. That's a tummy problem. Whatever BS they spew.
Yes. And then I just thought of a few more, like definitely ask about like, snacks and like birthday treats and things in the classroom. So like, what are the rules for that? And then like EpiPen storage and stuff too. I think there are some schools who have policies like it has to be locked in the office. And it's like, that is not advised.
It gives me a cold chill down my spine.
Yeah.
Locking an EpiPen away is like,
somebody just messaged me the other day and was like, I feel really good about this school. They say the pen's going to be locked away in the office. And like, as it was an okay, like they didn't even know that why that could be a bad thing. And so I think it's an education thing. Sometimes people think, oh, it's secure. It's locked in a cabinet that nobody can get in touch. It's secure.
It better be like one of those fire hydrant for fire foam things where it has the hammer next to it.
Right. No, yeah. Because I mean,
like you're not going to get this on accident. And if you want it, here's a hammer.
Yeah. And the reason, if anybody's like, well, why is that a problem? Like the main reason to me is that like it needs to be reached quickly by anyone. And if there's even a moment where it's like, well, shoot, Sally had the key, but it's not in the spot, or she's out of town, and where could she have put it? Oh no. Like there needs to be none of that. It needs to be like quick access now. No issues in retrieving the medication.
I'm just going to go ahead and say, don't lock your EpiPen in anything ever.
Yeah,
oh my God.
No.
I don't care how old the kid is or what the school policy is.
Yep. It's just a no.
Pull a Norma. Norma is my mother. And anytime she ever didn't like anything, she would like literally go through the state of Texas and get it changed.
I love it.
Not allergy related, but like
Norma.
Yeah, she made dressage horseback riding a sport recognized by the public school system.
That's amazing.
Of Texas. And I was like, what?
Yes, you
did. What? You're taking paperwork to have the legislation. What? Do they even know what dressage is? So yeah, whenever somebody like needs a policy change or whatever, I'm like, just pull a Norma.
Pull a Norma. Oh,
okay.
This has been an emotional episode, I know. So let's close it out.
I'm gonna go get a wine.
Yeah, I could use a wine. Let's go get a wine.
I want a wine, and oh my God, Abe's. This is not sponsored. Abe's pumpkin bread.
Oh, it's so good.
The way that I am just like keeping Austin's Whole Foods in business because of my purchasing power is psychotic. It's so good.
It's so good.
Like as somebody who
you're like, what do you put in that?
I know.
I mean, the ingredients are very listed. They're very transparent with their ingredients. They're an allergy brand. But man, I'm like, but what really are you putting in there? Because I could eat the whole dang thing.
I do eat the whole dang thing. When I went to Breckenridge, like the girls were laughing. They're like, you're going to turn into a pumpkin bread, Danielle.
You're like,
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's giving holidays.
Yes.
Which
we're going to have an episode on holidays.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you to our sponsors. Please send us questions so that we can talk about them on the couch.
Leave us a review. We have not had as many reviews lately.
I know. It's just that initial push. We asked for it a lot.
I know. So if you're feeling it, leave us a second review.
Yes. Or just, we have some really good stuff coming up. And also, we're excited about season 2. That'll be around the corner. So anywho, thank you. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.